Today's date is February 3rd, 2024. On February 4th, 2024, this young man in front of me is going to be 102 years of age. Say your name and birth date.
Irv Levine, February 4th, 1922.
We have interviewed Irv in the past about the Hump, and you see the map behind you, it's the Hump. Irv served over in India and in China during World War II as a radio man on the Loran. Now, Irv, you also knew the Recknick family in Evansville, Indiana.
Yes.
Irene Recknick just died about a year ago. She died at age 84, and her mother and dad were Eddie and Regina. And Regina died about 1980 of a car wreck, and Eddie died about 1983. Tell us what you remember about Eddie, Regina, and Irene.
Well, my acquaintance with them was at the Temple Addis, Israel, and conversations with him was very short. I really didn't have a sit-down conversation with him, and but I can remember when he was here in Evansville, and he was making material for dresses and so forth, raincoats. At that time, I was selling road goods for a company out of New Orleans. And so I went up and talked to him, and a very interesting man. His background was tremendous. And I really didn't have any really close relationship, but I did know Eddie Recknick.
Did you ever go to Eddie's shop, Recknick shop? It's right at the YMCA downtown. It had a big building down there, still standing, 7 or 8 floors high. Did you ever look at his factory?
Yes, I was in his factory.
Tell us what the factory looked like.
Well, there was sewing machines and women sewing dresses and material. And it's been a while. So.
Were there just 1 or 2 women there, or a lot of them? Sewing the dresses and sewing things. Were there a lot of women in there sewing?
I'm trying to think now. He had several women. It's been so long ago.
He started 1 sewing machine. I think he ended up with 91 sewing machines. It might have been on the 2nd and 3rd floor. You might not have seen that. Tell us what you did. Did you buy dry goods from him, or selling dry goods, or did you do any other business with Eddie?
No.
Yeah.
I was never really close to him. I knew him from the temple, and he was quite a nice gentleman. Did
you know Irene, the daughter, at all?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, she was out of town a lot until we lost Regina. Then she came back and stayed with her dad, and then she stayed here from about 1980 till when she died in 2022 or so. She died in 84, and she was a professor at University of Wisconsin, but she was a hidden child, and her mom and dad, Eddie and Regina, were in Auschwitz for over a year, and we're doing a whole Holocaust museum in memory of the Recknick family. So I want you coming out here, and that'll hopefully be open the next couple of months. Do you have anything that you knew? Anybody else in Evansville? We're going to interview Doris Siegel, and her family was also there. Phil Siegel and Doris, but Doris is also, her family had to leave Germany in the 30s, and she remembers all that, why they left. And they had to sell all their goods and left broke, and then they set up a shop in Indianapolis and then came down here. I don't know if you know the Siegels or not.
Well, I did know that her parents were in a concentration camp, and she was just a small girl at that time.
Yeah, she came. She still got some memories of things, and she's going to talk to us about that too. Well, I'm glad you talked to us today, and you've had a lot of good interviews with us, and we're going to keep having more. Okay, thanks, Irv. Any other thing about comments about anything?
No comments. Well, I'd like to say something about this War Museum. It's a wonderful place to visit and to see what World War II veterans went through.
I'm glad you appreciate it, because you're a World War II veteran in India and China, and went on a ship and came back on a ship, and you're firsthand you're a primary historical source, which is very rare today. Less than 700,000 World War II veterans out of 16 million left in the world in 2024. So you're rare, and at 102, there's probably not very many of you left in the world. So that's a very nice compliment. We're trying to have the younger generation understand a little bit about the importance of that war, and that war changed the world.
I like to contribute as much as I can to the War Museum.
Well, just your presence and all your interviews has helped a lot, and we're going to have you coming out here on a regular basis, whatever you can do, and talking to some younger generation about what your experiences were. We'll probably have you talk right here at the Hump area, because we got the map of the Hump, and you talk about your first-hand experiences, because I hardly knew anything about the Hump till I started studying it recently, and probably a lot of the people are like me. So thank you for your time today, and thank your granddaughter for bringing you here today. And I know she's going to get you some chocolate ice cream tonight or tomorrow. I might come over and get some myself. Okay.
You're welcome.
All right.
You're welcome anytime.
Okay. Get over here, granddaughter. Get over here behind him. Just tell us your name and where you're from.
I'm Jessica Cooper Melker, and so Terry is my mother and is Irv's daughter.
Tell us about Irv, a little bit of historically what you remember with Irv from a little kid on, because this is very rare to have somebody at 102, and you know, he's really got a strong work ethic. He was cutting his lawn until he's 101. I don't think he's cutting it anymore.
Right.
But he stopped at 101.
He didn't stop because he wanted to stop.
He was forced to stop.
He was forced to stop. Yeah, well, it's interesting because growing up as a little girl, I grew up in Texas, and he's been in Georgia and Indiana, and visit him every year. He'd come down and visit with Gigi, and we just had an ongoing relationship, saw each other, you know, multiple times every year. And the thing is that I didn't know all this rich history of his experience of World War II. So it wasn't something that, you know, I really knew to ask. And I think he just met us where we were at our age. So if I was 5 or 9 or 12, he wasn't necessarily forcing that information, you know, in our conversations. He was out hitting the ball with us, or doing, you know, reading books or coloring. And even now with my children, when he would come down to Dallas up until COVID, he came down to see us after his wife passed away for every year for about 8 or 9 years. I'd come down to Dallas, and even on, you know, Christmas Eve, we'd decorate Christmas cookies and together, and, you know, he would always just jump in with his great-grandchildren. And so it's really, I would say, of the last few years that I've really learned and talked to him about, you know, his experiences, and just continue to ask questions as we all do and want to know more. And it's remarkable that he has such a great memory of each, you know, so many details from that time that he can share. So it's really exciting for us. We every time we come, we want to come to the museum as well. We're contributors to the museum, and we support it 100%. So. Well,
thank you. And you know, you're a very lucky person. So many of us, our parents are deceased, and we never got to hear their stories of World War II, or even their stories of life, and Irv has been able to tell us a lot of stories the last 3 or 4 years, and you've got to learn. And so many people never ever knew of some of the lore that's out there to learn. And so you're lucky, and your kids are going to learn. Your kids have learned so much. Like he pushes us back 50 years before his time in the war, and so they're learning 150 years of history to some degree. So
It's remarkable.
yeah, so glad you come back up here, and
Yes.
he's going to be a regular here. So
Absolutely. Thank you. Thanks for having us.
sure. Bye-bye.